At 106.5 FM, K293CF, Moreno Valley.
Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. Today we have a special guest in the studio, Charner Rogers, PhD. And I know Charner from working with her at the New School of Architecture and Design in San Diego, California. She's been on my faculty there for the Masters of Construction Management program. And she has a very broad, diverse background, well beyond just academia. Quick reminder: if you don't catch us live on the on KCAA radio, we're on 1050 AM, 106.5 FM all over the inland and LA metro area. You can always catch us on Roku, Amazon Fire, or Android app on the Building Solid Foundations channel. That's a free download. You can check that out along with other great shows that come out of the same station. Or on your favorite podcast platform. We're on over 15 of them, adding more all the time, and we're also on YouTube. So check us out. If you miss anything, you can always check that. Plus, there's if you're on the Thursday live broadcast, we rebroadcast that on Sundays on KCAA. Dr. Charner Rogers is a decorated engineering, construction, and DEI professional. That's a diversity, equity, and inclusion professional. Through her career, who's used her power and influence to create opportunities for others. She's also served as president and founders of CLR Enterprises in Atlanta, Georgia, which was created in 2019. That's a national consulting firm that conducts recruitment of diverse talent and provides strategies and training for construction companies seeking to improve and diversify their staff vendors. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, and we'll get into some of her other background. She actually has experience in heavy civil construction as well, working with the Georgia Department of Transportation, which is, for you California types here, that'd be equivalent of Caltrans, working all over the Georgia area, putting in the freeways, bridges, roads, flood control systems, all that good stuff. And we're going to talk about her background growing up in a family that was one of a handful of minority builders in Nashville, Tennessee. We'll get deeper into that through the show. Charner, welcome to Building Solid Foundations. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. Hey, how are you doing today?
Good, good. And Charner's joining us from Atlanta, where she lives, I believe. You're still in Atlanta, is that correct?
Correct.
Right. It's great to have you on the show. And Charner, I wanted to talk a little bit about, first of all, your background, where you started, because I know you from academia, but I know you from the construction business, and those overlap very much. Your background's very much like mine, where started as a professional in the built environment industry and ended up in academia over time. Having both those feathers in the cap, although you're much more of an academic than I am. I'm kind of an accidental instructor. You're much more intentional and much better educated than I am in that front. So growing up in Nashville, you were in the family that was in the building business. What kind of projects did your family build, and what was your involvement, and how early did you get started?
So my family comes from a long line of general contractors.
Okay.
It's the rule in the family, the firstborn son becomes a general contractor, and just has always been. My dad is a contractor. His dad was a contractor. Whose dad was a contractor, and my dad's first cousin, same thing. Their dad was a contractor. And so the problem is that I was my dad's only child.
Okay. So you're the firstborn son by default.
Yeah, I'm the firstborn son by default. He even calls me Junior, so that's the funny part about it. But so it was kind of voluntold that, you're going into the building industry. So I started from a young age being, with him. He wanted a boy so bad, but I said he always treated me like one. He would put me in his truck, and we'd go around on the different sites, inspecting different things. I was putting on roofs at probably age 13. I knew how to put on roofs. Yeah. And so, because I liked it, that's the funny part about it. I actually liked to take it off and pick the nails up and throw them and all that stuff. I thought it was exciting. So when I went to college, I really wanted to do architecture, and I wanted to do engineering. And somehow I just kept coming back to construction management, building construction. So I got my undergrad. It's in construction management. But I had 4 years of architecture in undergrad. Probably would have finished architecture. It's just I just switched majors my last semester, which didn't make sense, but it ended up working out. Spent some time, with the family, and then we started building residential small commercials. So We did custom homes, neighborhoods, Fifth Third banks, strip malls, just things like that, fast food restaurants. And we enjoyed it. It was very lucrative. Everything was going really good. Started my company in 2000, which is called Rogers and Rogers General Contractors. And we started building. Of course, everybody knows what happened in 2006. It's like the bottom fell out of the housing market. So we had to do different stuff. So I was thinking, okay, now at that point I had a master's in civil engineering and environmental engineering. I was thinking, okay, maybe we could do brownfields remediation. So we go in, take the dirt, remediate it, and then people have a place to build on it. Because although residential went down, commercial building was still going. So I was just thinking of ways to do or what to do, and I just ended up getting frustrated and moved to Atlanta. And so, Dad, we can keep the company, but I got to do something else. We got to Atlanta and started working for GDOT using my civil engineering degree. And I did it for quite some time. But then I looked around, I had two daughters that could probably do a contract better than me and you. They could fill it out, they already knew measurements, they probably could build. So I thought, oh, how unfair is it for me to kind of force something onto them just by default, just because I'm working. And, my dad took me because he wanted me to learn. I took them because I was a single mother and I had no other choice. So I was like, what kind of career will lead me to where I can be a good mother and still be within the construction industry? And that's how I got into teaching. Because I was in my PhD program at that time, PhD in architecture from Georgia Tech. And the teacher there, which is Dr. Linda Mobley Thomas, Dr. Thomas Mobley, I'm sorry, was saying, you'll be an excellent teacher. You do well with the students. You're a good grad assistant. You should think about it. And at that point of time, I really didn't have it in my mind to do it. But, somebody put a bug in you, you're like, okay, let's try it. So I kept working and working. I did it part-time as an adjunct. And then one day I was like, you know what, I'm going to go full-time. And I really, really enjoyed it. So the reason why I enjoyed it, because I still get to be in my industry, but I get to teach young people to do what I wanted to do or what I am doing, and I get to do it intentionally. So it's nothing like seeing that bulb goes off. I don't know if you know, but in the building industry, especially residential, you don't have too many stories like mine anymore. The son or the daughter, whoever is not going into the industry, they're going into some other industry. So we have a lot of builders out here that is looking for a protege. They're looking for somebody to pour into. And so I am instrumental in helping these people do that. Our average builder, especially home builder, is 58 years old. And they don't have a successor. And they don't like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I've seen that across the country in our culture, we have we've set up a culture where we teach our children that if you go into any kind of hands-on business, blue collar, work with your hands, auto mechanics, construction labor, manufacturing, you must have done something wrong. Everybody's supposed to graduate college and go to Harvard or Stanford and get themselves a degree and work in the tech sector or do something like that, be an independent consultant, which is not realistic. And it leaves, honestly, at least probably 80% of the students behind that have a lot to offer. And I know I deal with this a lot because I work in academia, but I have a very big heart for the trades. I came up through the labor. And, a tradesperson still goes to 4 years of school too. They don't go to a university or college. They go through 4 years of an apprenticeship program while they're working. So, and I try to tell students, when you graduate with your degree and you go into the business, don't think that 4 years of formal education trumps 10 years of in-field experience ever. They both are necessary, both are needed, but they do a different function. And I think we've shorted the last few generations by kind of teaching them that maybe going into the trades or going into construction is not a noble profession. It's something that means they're beneath someone else, and it's not. As you know, if we look at the real, what I consider a very serious metric of how successful or how efficient things are, how effective things are, who gets paid more right? The crane operator and the plumbing journeyman, or the person with the biology degree, So
Right, right. I told a couple of people, they was like, I don't know. I said, first of all, everybody's not made for college. I said, just
that's right. I agree.
let's talk about this. So let's say you don't go to college for construction management, but you want to be, like you said, the trades. I said, everybody always talk about the plumber's butt sticking out of their pants when they, doing their work.
It's a caricature, yeah.
Yeah, I said, but that butt is worth about $150,000 a year. I said,
Right.
so when you start looking at the trades,
And when that butt has done that long enough and becomes a master plumber, and they have 12 different trucks with journeymen driving around town plunging toilets and fixing water heaters, they're worth a lot more than that.
Right. And so, they don't understand. I even have parents that are like, my, child want to do this. I don't understand why. And when I start showing them how much they're making coming out of school after 4 years versus how much an engineer makes, or how much a architect makes, or how much, and I go
An accountant, any of them, yeah.
I'm like, they're beating everybody. I said, but if you don't want your child to do this, I understand. We have to really change the narrative of construction being unsexy.
I agree with that. And so with that, let's get into that after the break. We're going to take a short break. We're going to be right back after this. I'm talking to Dr. Charner Rogers. This is Building Solid Foundations Radio. We're on KCAA twice a week, and we're on the Roku, Amazon, and Android channel, BSF channels, if you catch those. We're going to take a real short break. We'll be right back after this. Don't go anywhere. We're going to finish that thought that Charner just set out there right after this.
FireUp Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. FireUp Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services, including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing, and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. FireUp Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Choose power today and help us create a cleaner planet. Over the past years, utility prices have rapidly increased. Power provides home energy solutions that would save money. Power is the world's first virtual solar company that aims to adopt sustainable energy worldwide. Our company delivers low-cost, clean, and reliable energy solutions. The solar investment allows you to become eligible for an income tax credit. The solar investment is a great way to provide long-term value. Power is the first solar company that reduces carbon footprint for a cleaner environment. Power is experienced and one of the fastest growing solar companies in the United States, which provide the best solutions according to your needs. Call today for your free solar consultation. Join us as one of our ambassadors and earn $1,000. Earn $1,000 when the installation is completed. Free sign up at www.power.com/marie.waite/ambassador. Feel good about what powers your life. Marie Waite, your solar consultant. 95137855316. Enjoy your life with solar.com.
Are you a real estate investor looking for a new opportunity in one of the top tourist destinations in the world? Look no further. Welcome to Punta Cana. Perla Bahia is a private resort-style community in Punta Cana that consists of modern condos, custom villas, and various commercial amenities. So if you're interested in learning more or joining us on one of our monthly investment tours, don't hesitate to contact me today at 909-494-2280.
Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations Radio. I'm your host, Steve Matley. Today we're talking to Dr. Charner Rogers. Dr. Rogers has a long background in construction, engineering, architecture, development. She also works in academics, teaching at multiple schools. We're going to get into that a little bit later. And when we left off, we were talking about this idea that It's two sides of the coin. And one side, not everybody needs to go to college. That's a fact. There's a lot of other paths out there. There's trade schools and there's apprenticeship programs and there's career colleges. There's a lot of other things you can do. On the other hand, I don't believe that anybody should do what my guidance counselor in high school did to me, which is to tell me that I probably shouldn't go to college because I probably wasn't smart enough and wouldn't make it. When I graduated with my MBA, and actually when I became the dean of a college at one time, I wanted to send him my business card and say, don't ever, ever, ever tell a kid this, okay? Because it's not true. So you can do both. And a lot of times for people, it's not just that maybe college isn't for you. Maybe it's college isn't for you right now. Maybe what you need to do is go do this. Maybe it's go in the military for a while. Maybe it's pick up a trade. Maybe down the road, it's okay to go back. We have students in 30s, 40s, 50s that are getting their education later in life because they've worked in more of the trade side of things or a hands-on career, and now they're looking at moving into management, starting their own company or doing something a little different. So there's seasons of life, and maybe people aren't just ready early on. Now, you've worked in formal colleges. The program that we work with together is an online asynchronous master's degree, mostly working professionals. But you've also worked in college with the 18 to 22-year-old college student at Tuskegee University and also at Kennesaw State. So working with it, and what's interesting there is, and I'm going to give a little background to listeners, construction is not the most diverse industry. That's a fact. It is predominantly male. I think most people understand that, although it's getting more and more female as the years go on. Predominantly Caucasian. Now in Southern California, it's heavily Latino. In most of the rest of the country, there's not a lot of diversity. And so you work in a world, and you worked at a school teaching construction management, in fact, to minorities, who for whatever reason don't always seem to be very interested in construction management. And I don't really know why that is, but there's probably a lot of explanations. So talk about the students you work with, and how do you encourage people that demographically don't necessarily want to gear towards construction or construction management, but that's exactly the target that you work with?
So, working at an HBCU, let me first explain the decision to go there. I was doing very well at Kennesaw State, doing very well in New School. But the problem is that I knew that those students that come to New School and those students that come to Kennesaw State, they were going to be okay regardless, because my demographics for those schools was predominantly male, young white males, with some women sprinkled in there, very few minorities. Okay.
That's right.
So I knew that either their parents had a connection or something, I just knew they were going to be okay. The problem is, what I did not think is that the kids at the HBCUs were going to be okay. Why? Because like you said, not a lot of African Americans is in this industry. Okay. And then the African Americans that are in this industry are definitely not going to teach at a university, So I wanted to make sure that when every time I do a career change, I want to make sure that I'm making a difference, okay? And making a big difference and changing it for the better. So my choice to go to Tuskegee was more of a service project for me. I didn't make as much money. It was a small private school. It's an HBCU, so you had limited resources in rural Alabama. But I knew that I could teach them and produce good students. And surprisingly enough, when I got there, I had students that really, really wanted to learn and wanted to be in this industry. What happened is that no parents are not telling their kids to go be in construction science, construction management, etc. But what is telling them is social media and TV. Every time you turn it on, you have do-it-yourself homes or homes on homes or less, HGTV. And then, social media, you have all these people that say they're flipping houses, do this. So construction has started to be attractive again. The problem is a lot of people don't think that they need the education background of it to be successful in construction. And what I explain to people is, unless you understand what you're looking for or what you're doing, you have to have that background. Because somebody said, well, if I don't do plumbing, I just hire a plumber. I was like, yeah, that's cool. But if you don't know exactly what's wrong with your toilet or whatever, then they could just tell you you need a whole new toilet and charge you money, because that's what they're in the business for. I said, but when you have a kind of idea of why it's not working, you said, no, I don't need that. I need X, Y, Z. They kind of pretty much treat you differently. And so we have a lot of students now across the globe, and I know this is happening in most universities. You don't have a lot of people that come in entering freshmen as a CSM major. Most time you get transfers, and those are people who maybe start out in engineering or architecture or some other related that have seen, okay, I worked this summer, and when I went over here, I had more fun, or this was interested, or I always wanted to be in construction, but my parents kind of steered me somewhere else. And now that the parents are just like, okay, just go where you want to go. Now they're coming back into that. So,
and a lot of people think that the architect's job is really what is more the CM's job. You're kind of more the master builder. People, because of TVs and movies, the way they portray them, they don't realize you're sitting in a cube at a computer drawing lines as opposed to actually running the project. And that's more of a CM responsibility.
And making 20 to 30% less coming out than a CSM student is.
And having to go to school a lot more.
Right, right. And a lot more licensing and stuff. And so, I'm trying to close that gap between minorities and in construction, because we got a shortage. We got a shortage of workers. So we're going to have to get more creative.
The shortage is across the board, but especially among the females and minorities in the business. And honestly, in your high school and career day, who showed up to career day and said, who here would like to be a construction manager?
A white male.
Okay, in my school, nobody showed up. I never heard of it. But now, if there is, it's probably some white middle-aged guy that works for a big company,
In high school, there wasn't even an option. In high school,
never heard of it.
Looked at as blue collar. You want to go into construction? Well, you don't even know if you need to go to college. You don't need to do this. I mean, you can.
Your three options are be an architect, be an engineer, or be a tradesperson. That's kind of what they tell you in high school.
Right. And they said, if you want a tradesperson, hey, you don't spend 4 years doing wood shop, you're good to go. Go ahead out there.
Yeah, go join the union, go through an apprenticeship program. Yeah, exactly. And people don't understand construction management. The tools of a construction manager are smartphones and laptops, and that's their tools, right? Computers. Construction managers don't generally get in the trench or they're not doing the actual work. They're orchestra leaders. You don't write the music. That's the architect's job and the engineer's job. You don't play the instruments. That's the trade contractor's job. You just make sure everybody plays together and does the right thing at the right time. And if you do it correctly, it works. And if it doesn't, it's a disaster.
Right. And that's what I tell everybody. I was like, you do need schooling to understand. And, the most important thing I think people forget about college, especially if you go to a traditional college, is the independence you gain and the networks you gain there,
Yes.
And the people that you meet. Somebody can do this. It's always anonymity to ways that you could do stuff, and somebody being big at it. You always see those one-offers, and they're so glorified that everybody think they can follow the same path, not knowing the hard work, the sacrifice, everything else going to it. So just like with the flipping of homes, everybody think they could be a plant person and say, I'm going to go out and flip homes because it's so easy. All I got to do is put the money down, hire the people, and I'm just going to make all this buku of money. And I'm like, It's nothing like that. You
can do it in a 48-minute program on TV, so it must be easy.
Yeah, right. Or you go to these classes and understand, but then you don't know, if you don't know the sequences of the job, like if you don't know to do the rough ends and, for the plumbing and all of this stuff and when to have the inspections and stuff, you're losing money because now you're depending on somebody else to tell you when you can just go for it,
Yeah, and people are just for people out there that are listening to this, television shows, they're great. They are meant to entertain and inspire. They are not education. They are not training tutorials. And they cannot fail because when you're doing a project backed up by a national sponsor like Home Depot or someone like that and a network, you're not going to fail. It doesn't matter if you ever sell it. It doesn't matter if you ever get your rental rates out of it. It doesn't have to pencil. The intention of it was to create a program to entertain and inspire people.
Yeah. And the funny thing about it, because people will watch those shows and then start demoing their house. They'll
Yeah,
take a
yeah.
sledgehammer and go through the wall. And then the most thing that I always see that people say, I messed up on, I hit a low bearing wall. They didn't talk about that on TV, that you just cannot go and take walls. And I'm like, oh yeah, so now your house got a lot of major cracks in it. And they was like, yeah, we have to get it all redone because
Yeah, yeah.
just of that one mistake. And that's what I'm saying. It's the education portion of it. You saw this TV show where they just started hitting walls and opened the space up, not knowing
Yeah.
that you need that wall to distribute the load.
Yeah, and what they didn't show on TV was before they did that, they went and talked to an architect and a structural engineer, had calculations done, took it to the city, had a plan reviewed to make sure everything was going to work. Then they got the permit and then did the work. People don't like permits because they seem to be an extra step, but there's a reason we have them. We'll get into this after the break. I had what I did early in my career was I did a lot of repairs on basically hack jobs like that in order to get houses through escrow. I learned a lot of stuff. We're going to have to take another break. We're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Charner Rogers. And we're talking about construction management, architecture, engineering, working in the built environment, her background in it, and getting non-typical groups of people into the industry that tend to shy away from it. We're going to get more into that after this break, too. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Building Solid Foundations.
FireUp Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. FireUp Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. FireUp Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Real men of real estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Boats, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station, KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
This is Steve Matley. Join me every Thursday at 3 p.m. right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations radio talk show. I spent decades as a professional construction manager, business owner, real estate developer, and a college educator, and I enjoy learning new things from other people. We talk a lot about real estate, business, and finance, but we cover a diverse range of other topics as well. Some of the topics we've discussed in the past few months include real estate investing, leadership, higher education, ADUs, marketing using technology, multifamily rental properties, business strategy, entrepreneurship. You never know who may show up or what they may talk about, so join us right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations Radio. Hi, this is Steve Matley. As a construction professional, I know the importance of selecting the right contractor for the job. Power Solar employs only professional installers. Power Solar will provide a knowledgeable consultant to help analyze your current electric bill, identify site placement, and correct solar technology for your home. Contact KCAA Producer at gmail.com for a free financial savings proposal with no obligation, or call 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Again, that's KCAA Producer at gmail.com or 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. This is your host, Steve Matley. Today we're talking to Dr. Charner Rogers, and we're having a discussion looking into kind of behind the curtain of the built environment industry, construction management, contracting, architecture, engineering, and the academics behind it and the training. Charner, before the break, I was telling you I had an interesting position at one time where I was doing kind of handyman work. This was getting through school. And one thing I did was I worked with real estate agents when they'd get the home inspection report. And I was going in and repairing all the out of code hack jobs that people did. And what I learned in that process, as you were alluding to, people moving structural load bearing walls, structural components of the building, not knowing because on TV they did it and everything worked out fine. I learned that there are many, many people out there that should have all their tools confiscated and their rights to Home Depot revoked. They're dangerous people.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you have to go find other people, experts, before you start doing stuff. Talk to the structural engineer, talk to an architect, and I know that's money out of your pocket. I know that's additional money above buying the appliances and the countertops and the flooring that you like. It's necessary to do. That's one thing you learn when you get educated in this business, whether you take that as certificate programs through a community college or you do a formal degree program. Also, in the master's degree program that Charner and I both work in, the most predominant undergraduate degree is an architect's degree. Most of them are architects who find out once they get into the industry that they were taught how to envision and they were taught how to draw things up and come up with great ideas. They were not taught how to implement it. And unfortunately, the first thing the client asks is, how much is this going to cost and how long is this going to take? And if you answer wrong, that will be held against you into a court of law later on.
Right. And that's the thing, architect, and I can say this because I have a degree in architecture, you're not taught any budget. So you're taught to design based on no limitations. And that's
you're envisioning.
Yeah. That's not what happens in the real world. I wish that architects, especially schools, start being realistic and put budgets on stuff. And then the imagination is still going to be there. The innovation is still going to be there. It's even going to be more to me because now you got to figure out how to make something look rich, on a bare budget,
That's right.
How can you make that look good? And so that's the one thing that, I really hate the architecture schools do is they don't teach budget because that's not real life. Everything has budget.
And a lot of them have a class, a pro practice class, where they're supposed to talk about those things and contracts, but it's kind of, pretty quick. They move it fast because, well, that's not the fun stuff. And primarily that's, if the architect wants to be the master builder, they really need to know that. If they're just going to be creating ideas and drawing, then they really need to be working with the contractor in a design build type or a integrated project delivery type system, or they need to work with a construction manager because the owners don't always know these things. Most owners, honestly, you work with, there are those owners that you work with. For example, you work with the McDonald's Corporation. They build stuff all the time, and they have a department that does this and knows it upside down and backwards. Most owners don't. Most owners build something maybe a few times in their life. They build a house, and whatever. I've worked with churches that, they build a church that lasts for 75 years, and the next 2 generations later, they'll build another one or something like that. So that's not what they do all the time. And you need someone to guide that architect, because the architect, if without limits, will design what they want to design, and it's how are they going to know what your budget is if you don't talk to them about it? And they also don't want to design something hacky either. They don't want to design something low end.
Right. But the thing is, sometimes you might have a low end budget. So how do you take that budget and make it look, like it's glamorous, like it's a high.
You're building a pre-engineered steel building, but what can you do to make it look like it's not a pre-engineered steel building?
Exactly. And that's the part I think we have to get across to people. And it's a shame because if you have a parent and they're looking at architecture and they're looking at construction science, they're going to automatically tell their kid, go to architecture. Why? Because it's like a Hatfields and McCoy, architect, the Hatfields and the construction science out of McCoy is what I tell parents is say, hey, you can tell them to be an architect, but I want you to know that everything the architect draw up, the CSM person fix it in the field. So,
right.
it gets fixed in the field. So, you got to know a little bit about everything.
Yeah, and in the design, and most things have gone design build, and what that means is traditionally we hired an architect who hired engineers, and we designed everything, and then we took this set of plans and handed it to a contractor and said, you got 2 to 3 weeks to read everything we've been working on for 2 years. You got to figure out in the next 2 weeks and put a cost on it and be held liable based on that cost. And the lowest cost is going to win, and that's who's going to build it. Kind of a crazy system when you think about that. The design build world has come in the last 25, 30 years, and it's gaining a lot more momentum. And that's where we put that all under one umbrella, generally run by the contractor, not the architect. Now, there's mostly that's because of financial reasons. Contractors tend to have better cash reserve positions because they have fleets and inventory and those things, which architects don't tend to have. Architects have an office and a computer. So what that means is a lot of times your architect is working for the contractor, which is an anathema to an architect to even consider that. But that's what it is, because that's the nature of the way projects get structured these days. And a lot of that is to avoid litigation later on and those kind of things. Single source of responsibility, those kind of things. So, Charner, working in, you've worked in heavy infrastructure, you've worked in vertical construction, you've worked in residential. That's unusual. Most people in this industry find a niche and stick there. And they're about 2 feet wide but 3 miles deep. Right, where you're a little more like I am, probably 5 miles wide and about 3 feet deep, right? You know, a little about a lot of stuff in this industry. In your experience, which area of the industry do you find the most interesting, the most rewarding?
So I love residential. Let me tell
Okay.
you why. Commercial, you can go into commercial and maybe have, out of a 20-year career, 4 to 5 projects that you've done. Maybe, you got a hospital, it might be 3 years, only way you will see multiple projects if you do like small projects like a medical office building or something like that. But typically you'll have in a 20-year career maybe 4 to 6 projects total. Okay, whereas residential, in a few months, you could see your creation being done. Not only can you see it come through completion, it's such a personal choice. People are investing their life into this. While you're building, they got grandma, auntie, everybody else to come out to see them. This is the biggest purchase some people have ever made in their life. And so it's like making a change for them. It's like you building something that they're going to take and make a home. And how much more do you want? And that's the satisfaction I get, is that I'm building a house for someone to make a home, and that makes me excited. I am excited when I see first-time home buyers that want to buy something I've built. I'm excited when I see, people, somebody that might have had a tough start in life, that might be older and been living in apartments, and this is their first chance at 50 getting at that house, and they finally feel like they've done something right, and everybody's congratulating. That makes me feel good. I have a very servant style. I am a people server. So, doing the education, doing a residential, that's the most rewarding to me.
Right. And in the human experience, the 3 basic things are food, shelter, clothing. And what construction provides is the shelter. It's the shelter for where we live. It's the shelter for where we work. It's the shelter for where we have recreation. It's the shelter for where we be educated. It's the shelter for where we worship. It's the shelter for where we have community connection. It's the shelter for the local government agencies that are serving us. Construction builds the shelters. It builds that place that is safe from Mother Nature, basically. And is safe from other harm. It's secure, and it provides the functionality we need: the plumbing, the electrical, the internet connectivity, all the stuff. And that's what we do. It's a very basic thing, and I've always been very proud of that fact, that's being part of that. Meaning you're improving other people's lives by providing these buildings.
Right. And the funny part about it is, if you have a knowledge in this or a degree in this, you can use it on so many levels. Like you said, it's the basis for almost all businesses. Unless you're purely strictly internet, you're gonna have to get an office built. Or if you're doing a multiple type of like franchisee type thing, you're gonna have to get that built. I mean, whoever would thought, before I started working with the McDonald's Corporation, I didn't know they were the second largest holder of real estate besides the
Yeah. And that's actually part of their strategy. And it was interesting, that was actually highlighted in the Michael Keaton movie, the founder of understanding we're not in the hamburger business, we're in the real estate business. That's where the money comes from. The money's in the real estate.
Right, and the building of that. I mean, not a lot of people know that. Not a lot of people know that McDonald's have a whole restaurant development, division. there.
That's right.
It does nothing but the construction, the design, and the real estate portion of it. And so, when you go tell people, like, they can have a career here, or they can have a career there, or they can have a career there, they don't understand. You can go work for an insurance company, being an inspector on construction projects,
Or a bank.
or a bank, and
Yeah.
people like, I didn't have no. Yes, you don't have to just. Everybody think of construction as pure sticks and build, stick, mud, and build. No, that's not true. You can go in so many industries with it, and that's why, that's another reason why, I did Tuskegee, because a lot of those industries need diverse candidates. And so,
That's right.
the one thing that I wanted to do when I went there is put them on display. That means I wanted everyone to see what Black talent can do. So we started doing competitions, we started doing projects, we started doing a whole bunch of things, so that people could say, hey, oh, wow, that's good, because sometimes people think diverse means less than. When you hear people say we need diverse candidates, they already up in arms. And you're like, what's the problem? Well, why I got to get somebody that can't do the job adequately? I said, well, diversity doesn't mean less than. So,
Right.
we have to start showcasing people of color and women what they can do.
And we're going to talk about a specific example of that after this short break in our final segment. We got to go to commercial right now. I'm talking to Dr. Charner Rogers, and we'll be right back on Building Solid Foundations after this.
Choose power today and help us create a cleaner planet. Over the past years, utility prices have rapidly increased. Power provides home energy solutions that would save money. Power is the world's first virtual solar company that aims to adopt sustainable energy worldwide. Our company delivers low-cost, clean, and reliable energy solutions. The solar investment allows you to become eligible for an income tax credit. The solar investment is a great way to provide long-term value. Power is the first solar company that reduces carbon footprint for a cleaner environment. Power is experienced and one of the fastest growing solar companies in the United States, which provide the best solutions according to your needs. Call today for your free solar consultation. Join us as one of our ambassadors and earn $1,000. Earn $1,000 when the installation is completed. Free sign up at www.power.com/marie.waite/ambassador. Feel good about what powers your life. Marie Waite, your solar consultant. 95137853316. Enjoy your life with solar.com.
Real men of real estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Boats, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
Are you a real estate investor looking for a new opportunity in one of the top tourist destinations in the world? Look no further. Welcome to Punta Cana. Perla Bahia is a private resort-style community in Punta Cana that consists of modern condos, custom villas, and various commercial amenities. So if you're interested in learning more or joining us on one of our monthly investment tours, don't hesitate to contact me today at 909-494-2280.
Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We're talking today to Dr. Charner Rogers. And Charner, we before the break, we were discussing putting on display what I would say atypical students in a built environment discipline can do. And to highlight that people's assumptions of having diversity in the workplace doesn't mean that you have to settle for less than top quality. So I remember 2020, right before the shutdown, I went out to Las Vegas to the International Builder Show, which is probably one of the largest built environment conferences in the world, and they have a student competition. And I went in there and sat into their awards celebration, and lo and behold, Rookie of the Year was this school. Just started a program recently run by Dr. Charner Rogers, and it was from Tuskegee. And they were on the stage. I think he came in 5th overall out of 60 some odd universities across the country. And there were these 6 African American women on the stage. I had never in my history in this business seen an all female or an all African American team, and certainly not all the same at the same time. And then you followed that up last year with even a bigger win. So walk us through that. That's really putting that on display.
So when I came to Tuskegee, like I said, the first thing was to put them display, to have them showcase everywhere. And I do a competition every year. I've been doing it at every university I've been at. And that's with the National Association of Home Builders at the International Builders Show. And so this year I was like, okay, I put a sign out. And when I put a sign out for people to sign up, the first 4 names on there was girls. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to do an all-girls team. I'm going to see how we can do this. And so we formed this team of these amazing young women, and we went through the project and we coached them, and we got to do, have a good time. And so when we got there, everybody looked at us. It's like, y'all are all women. I said, yes. And you all are all Black. And I was like, no stuff. Yes, we are. And people were just amazed by it. But then what really came to the forefront is when they heard them speak and answer the questions. They knew that they knew their stuff, that they had actually did all the research, that they had did all the designs, that they had really poured into this project. And this wasn't, me doing it or anybody else doing it. It was genuinely that work. And people was blown away. So away that when they finished, they got a standing ovation. And I looked behind me and I saw women of all color crying, and they was like, oh my God, just to see this and to see the excellence it was done with was amazing. And so we won Rookie of the Year that year. We didn't get 5th, we got 7 overall. But coming from never doing the competition before, they don't even have a residential concentration, to learning something new and being all women. That was the first time in history they had an all girls African American team.
And that's a tough competition because it's as much a real estate development problem as it is a construction problem.
Right. You do it cradle to the grave. They give you a plot of land and you got to design it. You got to do the site work.
Marketing, finance, budgeting, everything's in there. Yes.
Everything. So the next year, was COVID. And so it was a little hard. And so we got 11, but we got chapter of the year. So that was another first time that HBCU had received chapter of the year. So that 3rd year, now we were working with people who've had 2 to 3 years experience. Now we got people that's excited about doing it because, just like the people displaying us, it's a display to them as well as you can do this. You won this, you're doing this, keep on. And that year, this past year is when we went. I knew when we turned in that proposal that was going to win. It was just in my gut because I usually send it out to different industry people to let them tear it apart so we could see, what's wrong. 3 of them came back and said, we have looked at this thing 3 or 4 times and we cannot find anything. And we're mad that we can't find anything. And the problem is that the kids designed it, because I had argued with them, the layout of it. I was like, I don't think so. They was like, we want to do it, so I let them do it. When we got to the competition, the first thing the judge said is, your proposal was on the level of a professional proposal, better than some we have seen come across our desk. And so they looked at me like, we told you. And then they delivered, exceptionally well. They knew what they was talking about. Their presentation was flawless. And we won. And when we won, nobody had hard feelings, because, some people everybody thought we were the best team to win. And we got a standing ovation. But that was the first time that HBCU had ever won that competition. We've had a few there, but they've never won the competition. And so not only was it a big deal that they won, it showed people that, hey, diversity don't mean less than. Like, here are students that did this and did quality work. And it's showing you that they're good, that they're good and they're able to be hired to do good jobs. And not only that, it was in February, which is Black History Month. So it was very emotional for us, because it was just like I had COVID, we kept having stepstones. We didn't have software we needed, so we was doing trial basis on stuff. So it was a hard fought first place, and so it did really well for them.
Yeah, and again, it's phenomenal, especially considering how young the program is. It only was your third competition. There are schools that have been competing in that for decades that have never finished in the top 10, and just it's the nature of it. So we're gonna have to kind of put a bow on the show. We're close to out of time, but I wanted to reiterate a few things that we've talked about in the show. One, if you've never considered the building environment, construction management, trades, general contracting, it is lucrative, and it doesn't mean you have to spend all your time in a trench. It doesn't mean that it's a lot of heavy work. It may be in the trades, but it pays well. It pays extremely well, even if you don't, if you're working in the trades. If you are working the management side, your earning potential is potentially unlimited to whatever you want to do. You can also get educated up to a level of a doctorate degree in construction if you want to these days, and I would guess that every student on those teams that you had, because industry people were looking at it, probably had job offers waiting for them when they graduate, because the employer knows these students do excellent work, and that's what we're here for. And I think like me, Charner, I think you also have the same mission. The industry was good to me, and I feel like it's an obligation to give back to the next generation. And I see that in you, which is why I really appreciate working with you. We're about out of time here. I want to really thank you for being on the show, Charner, sharing your stories with us. I think it's very inspiring to the people listening. Dr. Charner Rogers has been my guest on Building Solid Foundations. Make sure you tune in every week. Fascinating guests, different topics. And between now and next week, and you tune in again, go do something different this week.
E-Digits. Lock them in for more information, recreation, and guaranteed fun. KCAA.
Hi, I'm food critic Alan Borgen, and I'm excited to tell you about Ray's Shanghai Bistro, located next to Redlands DMV on Lagonia in Redlands. Ray's Shanghai Bistro offers the largest and most delicious array of traditional and original Chinese dishes available in the Inland Empire. Some of my favorite dishes are the house-made pot stickers, the crisp pork spare ribs with garlic, their unique spicy lamb with bamboo, the sweet and tangy deep-fried orange peel beef, and the savory basil spicy shrimp, plus lots of vegetarian dishes. Whether you dine in, pick up the food, or have them cater your next party or special occasions, you will see why Ray's, spelled R-U-I'-S, Shanghai Bistro, is truly the best Chinese restaurant in the Inland Empire. Their website is raysshanghaibistro.net. That's raysshanghaibistro.net. R-U-I-S shanghaibistro.net. Happy eating. You won't be disappointed.
For several years, KCAA has been marketing the Youngevity brand of nutritional and personal care products. Our experience with Youngevity has been 100% positive, so we are pleased to recommend them to you. Regarding nutritional supplements, we recommend Pollen Burst in the berry flavor and Tangy Tangerine 2.0 in the tablet form. For regularity issues, we recommend 3-Day Cleanse, and for personal care, we recommend Morning Hydration Cream. You can shop online for Youngevity at www.kcaateam.com, or you can order by phone by calling 800-982-3197 and tell customer support that you are part of the KCAA team. Youngevity is an American company based in San Diego. Call Youngevity at 800-982-3197 and ask about monthly auto ship that allows you to buy Youngevity products at wholesale prices. That number again, 800-982-3197.
Now, here's a new concept: digital network advertising, where businesses display your ad inside their building. If a picture's worth 1,000 words, your company is going to thrive with digital network advertising. Choose your marketing sites or jump on the DNA system and advertise with all participants. Your business ad or logo is rotated multiple times an hour inside local businesses where people will discover your company. Digital network advertising. DNA, a novel way to be seen and remembered. Digital network advertising with networks in Redlands and Yucaipa. Call in the 909 area 222-9293 for introductory pricing. That's 909-222-9293 for Digital Network Advertising. One last time, Digital Network Advertising, 909-222-9293.
Karen and the staff at It's a Dog's World Canine Academy reminds listeners never leave your pets alone in parked cars with the windows closed, as dehydration, heat stroke, and death can occur in just minutes. So make sure they have a steady supply of water and shade. This message from It's a Dog's World Canine Academy in Chino, teaching people how dogs think is their commitment. For all your boarding, training, private lessons, off-leash, service dog needs, and more, call 909-548-3150 for a free consultation. That's 909-548-3150. Or online at itsadogsworld.biz.
Let's say you're a millionaire. That's a lot of money, right? Now let's say you're a billionaire. That's a lot more money. But how much more? Think of all those dollars as seconds on a clock. 1,000,000 seconds would total 11 days. But 1,000,000,000 seconds equals nearly 32 years. Rich is nice, but billionaire rich is over the moon. And the wealth of billionaires is now zooming out of this world. There are only 2,200 of these uber-rich dudes in the world, but the wealth stashed away by these elites hit a new record this summer, averaging more than $4 billion each. On average, they've even pocketed an extra $500 million in the midst of the COVID-19 economic crash. Bear in mind that these fortunate few did nothing to earn this haul. They didn't work harder, didn't get one digit smarter, didn't create some new breakthrough product to benefit humankind. They just cranked back in their gold-plated lazy boys and let their money make money for them. Then there are multimillionaire corporate chieftains who are cashing in on their own failure, having closed stores throughout America, fired thousands of workers, stiffed suppliers and creditors, taken bailout money from taxpayers, and even led their corporations into bankruptcy. The CEOs of such collapsing giants as Hertz, JCPenney, and Toys R Us have grabbed millions of dollars in, believe it or not, bonus payments. The typical employee at JCPenney, for example, is held to part-time work, making under $12,000 a year. Thousands of them are now losing even that miserly income as the once mighty retailer is shutting 154 stores. Yet, the CEO was paid a $4.5 million cash bonus before the company filed for bankruptcy this year. This is Jim Hightower saying, and still the corporate establishment wonders why the people consider it a club of heartless, greedy bastards.
The Tri-City Shopping Center in Redlands is serving up some really cool ice cream at La Micho Acana. Then get your chocolates and other delights from C's Candies. Moms and future moms who visit the mall can cool off and relax while they get treated like royalty at Shiny Nails or Francis Nails and then pampered at Texture Hair. The Tri-City Center is filled with retailers who care about you. Shop at the Tri-City Center in Redlands and see why they call it the mall with a heart.
NBC News Radio, I'm Tammy Trujillo. Representative Adam Kinzinger says former President Trump is required by law to testify before the January 6th committee. Appearing on ABC's This Week, the Illinois Republican who sits on the panel said Trump can ramble and push back all he wants, but it's a legal requirement for him to appear. That was in response to a 14-page letter the former president addressed to committee chair Representative Benny Thompson, where he didn't make it clear if he would testify or not. Arizona candidate for governor Carrie Lake is standing by her claims that the 2020 presidential election was stolen.
We had 740,000 ballots with no chain of custody. Those ballots shouldn't have been counted.
When asked to provide evidence for the claim on CNN's State of the Union, Lake did not mention a specific source. She went on to say that the problem is the media won't cover supposed 2020 election fraud and that Americans have a First Amendment right to question election results. The 15-year-old suspect in the North Carolina mass shooting will be charged as an adult. Wake County District Attorney Lauren Freeman said her office has filed petitions to transfer the case to Superior Court. The unidentified teen will be charged with killing 5 people in a shooting spree in Raleigh. He's hospitalized in critical condition. Holiday air travel this year is set to be the most expensive on record. Scott Carr reports.
According to the travel booking group Hopper, airfares around the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday are up 25% from last year, while flights around the Christmas holiday are up an average of 55%. And the reason's not simply inflation. As the effects of the pandemic fade away, there's been no let-up in demand for seats. Some Delta officials say global demand has gotten a boost from people who are choosing to spend less on products and more on experiences. And one analyst says while carriers have rebuilt much of their passenger capacity, they still only have about 87% of the available seats they had in 2019.
Experts recommend booking as early as possible or be prepared for some serious sticker shock. You're listening to The Latest.